You're listening to Liberty Today, the Liberty Today podcast. I'm Cody. This is my co-host Alex, and we have some really important stuff to get into. First of all, Trump's immigration policies are starting to get pretty wild. Trump signs a bill adding $100,000 fee per year for companies per H-1B applicant.
Mm,
Our
huge.
our source here from the New York Post says that this is supposed to incentivize companies to only accept immigrant workers who are truly extraordinary, not ones that just replace average American workers.
Hmm.
And this is for anybody. It's not just for new ones. It's also
Oh.
including renewals. I think that's massive because how there's over 500,000 H-1B workers. I think it's somewhere around that range. And I highly doubt that most of them are the best and brightest. What are your thoughts?
Well, I just want to quickly check here. So, so far what I'm getting is an estimate on the American Immigration Council of a 730,000 total H-1B holders. So,
I feel
again,
like
that's
that's
an
too
estimate.
much.
So I think 500 to, I think it'd be easy to say 450 to 600,000 applicants or H-1B holders exist in America. So there's a lot. I don't know. I mean, it's important to note that this isn't just for companies. This is also for colleges and any organization who wants
True.
to apply for an H-1B visa. So you're not just talking about jobs. You're talking about educational positions. You know, one of the hardest schools you can get into in America is American medical school. It's very difficult. It's very competitive. And you only can get in if you're the best and the brightest. And so we have a ton of bright, amazing potential doctors here in America already. And so I don't really get why we need to import them. More importantly, I don't get why we need to import them, teach them, train them, and then send them back to their own countries, or let them send our money back to their own countries. You know, that just doesn't seem right in my headspace. That doesn't feel right to the American people. I think the American people should be top on the list. They should be getting the first seats. Because in many of these schools, it's the American taxpayer who's partially funding a lot of this. It's the American, right? For example, medical students have to do, or in one of the classes, every medical student will perform a biopsy or some kind of faux surgery on a cadaver. That's an American cadaver, typically, right?
Huh.
An American who donated their body to medical science or to medical research, right? And so I don't know, like I just feel like, and that's not always the case. I can't prove that it's
That
always,
takes it to a personal level.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So the Americans are giving their body to medicine. It should be an American cutting them open. No, I'm kidding.
Now here's something very important. I think that maybe some people miss because I saw that the media is not very happy about this. But I think something
Well, yeah.
important to think about is that this is not banning H-1Bs because I think there's plenty of very bright Americans. But let's say a company does have a prospect from a different country that fits everything they need, has all the skills and the talents, is already trained that they want to bring in here. I don't think they should be barred from doing that. But if that's truly the case, $100,000 per year fee isn't actually disqualifying. It's really not for a company who's bringing in somebody with such talent and skill that they need to outsource from the United States. I
Um,
feel, what was that?
I mean, it's iffy. It depends on the intention, I guess. Many H-1B visa app holders, from what I understand from it, typically stay in the country and they typically continue working for that company. And so I guess it depends on the goal on the restructuring here. Is the idea is Microsoft needs a top engineer from India or China, and so they get this guy a 2-year long visa to come here and work for 200 grand, and then that's it. He goes back. Then actually, I think that model is fine if that's what the intention of restructuring is. But if this is intended to actually
Mhm.
bring in citizens, keep them in the country, be intelligent, and be useful, I actually don't know if I'm okay with the $100,000. I'm maybe not so happy with the per year because I do genuinely think there's legal immigrants from other countries who do make our science better, who do they make our medicine better, they make our computer science better. Like, I think there's many immigrants who do make our system better, and they assist in making America greater. And
Well, I
so
believe H-1B is just a work visa. I think if
that's what
somebody
I thought it
was
was.
planning on staying for a while, they could actually immigrate to the United States and become a legal citizen.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
thought
just
it
a longer
was. I think
process.
it's just a work um visa. Is it a long-term work visa? Is that what it is?
Um, I I feel like the contracts are supposed to be short. From just the wording of how kind of H-1B works, it seems like it's just something to get bright people into the U.S. for tech-related stuff, tech and medical stuff.
Oh, yeah, if it's just a
It's
work
definitely been
visa,
abused.
yeah, I would say if it's just a work visa where if we're trying to just keep people from using it as a long-term stay in the country, then I mean, $100,000 is probably fine. Yeah, I don't
No,
know. I think I don't know. I guess if I had to defend the other side, it would be $100,000 on top of $100,000 salary instantly knocks out any qualified immigrant from taking those jobs, which I'm not opposed to. If there is an equally qualifying American, then I'd say, okay, you don't want to spend $200,000 total on an immigrant. Give that American $150,000, right? Give them
yeah,
pretty
I
good
think
salary.
I think the
Give them health
the
insurance.
best thing that this can yeah, I think the best thing that this can do for Americans is like we said, if something like 730,000 visa holders, there the most of them are Indian and Chinese, and especially in India, there's a ton of fraud going on with degrees. So these people are likely coming in not having any sort of degree, getting trained on the job, and then getting underpaid. And that just completely shuts down a lot of these markets in the tech sphere for Americans, which is actually brought up in concerns. ABC actually argued that this is going to hurt big tech companies that rely on highly skilled foreign workers and could cause job shortages, economic trouble. And that kind of goes to show how much this program has infiltrated into American jobs, or should be
No,
American jobs,
I
right?
don't think it did. I don't think it is. I think it's overbloated. I here's the
Really?
reality. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the problem is you're talking about. You can't convince me on that. I cannot be convinced on that. That's a bone I'm not willing to bite on. You're telling me Microsoft, the multi-trillion-dollar company, is gonna have difficulties getting around this? You
Oh, no, no. I don't believe what ABC says.
no,
I'm
not
just
you.
saying
I'm speaking.
them
Yeah.
them saying that is
I
kind of shows you that they know that there's a lot of these visa holders in
no.
these
I
jobs
think
that
they're
maybe shouldn't be there.
maybe that's what they're saying. I definitely think they're clowning around. I think they're definitely just over emphasizing this. And it just
Oh,
comes down to everything Trump does, which is that the moment Trump does something, even if it could be considered pretty good, like I don't think this is a bad idea. I think this is a good idea. It's going to be over bloated, right? Because you're
yeah.
taking, yes, there are certain tech companies who might have specific issues in the immediate aftermath of this policy that might struggle to get some immigrant workers in. But that is such a small I can't imagine that actually being a big deal. Like I said, I don't think Google, Microsoft, Apple, these companies are not going. They have they have international headquarters. They have places in Europe, right? I promise you that they can get around this. They will continue to have these immigrants, just not here on American soil without the price being paid. And I don't see why that isn't fair. Because here's the reality: if you're gonna make trillions of dollars in the tech business, you're going to give a piece of that to the American people. I think that's fair. I don't think that's a problem, especially if you don't want to give it directly to an American people. If you don't want to pay Americans to do the job, that's okay. But I think it's fair. I think you should pay a little bit if you're gonna build here and import the workers, right? I don't I think it's fair. I think I like it. I'm not opposed to it. I don't think it's, if we're asking whether or not it's a good idea or not. I think it's an excellent idea. I'm interested to see how it actually plays out and what impact it has. especially because this could definitely bring in, I think, amazing revenue towards our overbloated debt issue. So
Yeah,
I'm
really.
not complaining about that at all.
Anywhere the government can get money in a just way, I'm fine with that because that means less money coming right out of the taxpayer's pocket. But you're right about how the media tends to just hate everything that Trump does, no matter what. Like if Trump came out saying that he was pro pissing in the urinal, they would all start peeing on the floor. Really.
Wait, no, wait. Okay, I'm gonna quickly bring this up. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but they literally do, genuinely do that. They come out and say,
Pee
"Hey
on the
guys,
floor?
no." But
Oh.
but that system of he says this, do the opposite or do the most dramatic thing. They come out, they have, hey, we're doing this research. It seems that we have something coming out where it looks like if you take Tylenol while you're pregnant, your kid could develop autism or other health issues.
Oh yeah.
And there's this huge
Oh.
trend of moms who are actively pregnant on TikTok downing like 10 things of Tylenol. And I'm just like, what?
What?
Yeah, this
That's
is
the
a
first
trend.
time I heard of that.
Oh yeah, I'll have to pop a video up like
'Cause
right
I
now to show
remember-
this. It is wild that this is happening. I saw a video of this happen. I saw
believe it.
a few news articles and saw this on. I don't have TikTok, but I saw someone else watching it on TikTok, and I was like, that is crazy to
Well,
me.
because before left-wing media took hold of the COVID thing and spun it to their side, Trump initially came out and told people to be cautious of COVID-19, that it may be a threat. And then you saw a bunch of TikTokers start licking toilet bowls. I don't know if you remember that. I was
No.
pretty young at the time, but I saw some videos and I was like, what?
No.
Why?
I do not. Dude, you were so young and you saw that and you were like, holy crap, what are their side? I'm not doing that.
Pretty much. That's what radicalized me.
I just thought I quickly mention it because that's such a good you
Yeah,
gave
well-
such a good example of something that's literally happening in real life right now. Right? I thought,
Yeah,
holy
because
crap, what
I
a
heard
perfect
one. I think
connection.
it was from Timcast. He straight up said like, if Trump came out one day and said he was pro oxygen, they would all stop breathing.
Yeah, they'd all form gills and start swimming. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
These people are wild.
Well, what I was gonna say.
What he needs to do is he needs to come out for. Never mind, I won't say that. But
Oh,
no, there's a
Oh.
lot of examples we could use here. But go ahead, continue with our conversation.
I was gonna ask, will this? What I was trying to point to is that ABC is trying to argue that this could cause job shortages, major economic downfall in the tech industry. But do you have an insight on what economic impact this actually could have? Because I'm thinking maybe there would be a small dip, because this isn't going to be a one-day thing where suddenly they all get kicked out. It's going to be gradual. I feel like there's plenty of Americans, like plenty of unemployed Americans that can be trained to take these jobs, and that
Yeah.
really things might just, like, tech stuff might just get a little more expensive for a while, because it's essentially we don't have slave labor anymore in that area, and I feel like that might be the most of it. I'm not sure what else really could be an issue. We have plenty of workers and we have plenty of money to pay the wages. What do you think?
It's tough to say. I mean, there's different avenues where this can come from. At the worst end, you could maybe see some of this come to light. It just depends on what we currently have as a work supply. I think we have labor ready to go. I think we have workers who are ready to get working. I think they already have workers. And
Bring back child labor. We have even more.
I wouldn't even doubt that they would probably outsource some of this information anyways, if not already do that. But I'd also keep in mind that some of these companies are probably going to do backroom negotiations with Trump and his team. We see this happen all the time where there are concessions that happen. Hey, we'll allow you to only pay this amount, but you have to do XYZ kind of investments. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if this is also a bargaining chip to try to get certain companies to come to the table and to do certain things for the administration or for America to get bigger wins. But if we're just saying flat, okay, this is what the reality is, there's none of that going on, none of that speculative stuff. What we could see, I'd be surprised if there's actually a problem from this. Because first of all, you're talking, there's already probably new applicants who got in before this goes into effect. So you still have a massive amount of an immigration force that doesn't have to worry about this for another year, right? And
Right.
so you're not going to see this immediately, which gives them a year to try to figure out, okay, how do we get around this? What kind of deals can we make, or who can we replace? How can we start pulling in Americans? Because you're in a country that has some of the most educated people in the world. I have no doubt between Harvard, Brown, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, that you will be fine in finding amazing qualified candidates for these tech jobs. So tech is not going to have an issue. At most, I say maybe a good time to buy some tech stocks when it dips a little bit from this. Dips, buy, sell when it goes right back up, because like most things that many of these outlets are pushing, it's a nothing burger that is going to have little effect on the economy. But,
We're
midterms,
in the golden age.
Yeah. Well, midterms are coming up pretty quick. And so it's going to be, you're going to see them throwing every snowball they can at the wall. But,
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
that makes sense what you said earlier, because Trump's part of the deal, right? Start off,
Yeah.
go in guns blazing, and then but be willing to step away from the table. He's tossing in this big 100K fee per year, every applicant. It's big, but you're right. I bet it's gonna get negotiated a lot back and forth. But at the end of the day, I'm sure Trump wants to. Well, I guess what should I say? Trump wants to get this across one way or another. Like 30K a year, 20K a year, doesn't matter. 20K a year would probably get rid of at least 300,000 of these immigrants.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's kind of unfortunate to say, considering that's the bar that's being brought in. It's sort of like, are these really the best and brightest?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say, because I have no doubt that some of these people get some kind of screening if this is a certain work. But I'd also be shocked if it wasn't happening. I guarantee because again, this has only been 8 months of this administration. You're talking a few months until the people who probably got pulled in through Biden's administration are out. So I wouldn't be shocked under Biden's administration that these interviews and these screenings weren't actually happening at all. And I'd be shocked. Actually, the reason I actually accept that 700,000 number is likely because I think we probably had more, and this is speculative, and we can do some research and try to throw up a link to this if we can find one. But I'd be curious to see if we saw an increase in H-1B visas under the Biden administration. I have no doubt. That feels like a fact that will probably be right. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, we could probably put that up on the screen.
Yeah, if it exists, if we found it, it's on the screen. If it didn't, call me a liar.
Yeah.
Or actually, I have a theory that this was a reality that happened. I speculate.
A hypothesis.
Yes. But I wanted to say that it is difficult when talking about this, because obviously I think the whole MAGA movement, or the Republican Party as a whole, isn't really against legal immigration. And this is to note that I think it's important to note that this isn't an attack on legal immigration. Restrictions on legal immigration has existed since the founding of the country. We have barred certain nationalities from coming in. We had the China embargo, or I think it was an embargo. I forget. You had a ban on all Chinese citizens coming. You could, if you were Chinese, you couldn't come in here. It was like, I think it was a 50-year-long thing too. Is that right? I don't know, right? Like, we can debate.
But you're just
that.
saying it existed.
It has existed.
This isn't an unprecedented event.
We can go into the right and wrongs of doing that, but this isn't new. This has been done by other presidents. This has been done under different administrations since the founding of our country. This is just a reality, because the reality is this. This country cannot hold every person in the entire world. We are limited by our resources and our land. And if we want to keep the quality of those resources and land, and that's important, we don't want quantity, we want quality. Quality of the people in the country who can accept our culture, accept our mannerisms, our norms, accept what we do as a citizenry day to day, accept some of our mannerisms. More importantly, we want to keep the quality of our own supplies. We want to keep a quality infrastructure. We want to keep quality municipalities. And if we aren't careful about who is coming up, both illegal and legal, if we're not careful on who's coming in, you can quickly see your country be lost. And I think we see it a little bit now. I really do.
Yeah, we're seeing that in Europe a lot. It's starting to get
Europe
real
is
bad.
ridiculous with it right now. As someone who had just came back from Europe just 6 months ago, I had a trip there in Spain. I'm not kidding. It was not a beautiful city. It was just sad because the pictures looked beautiful. People told me it was beautiful. Parts were beautiful, but the only parts that were beautiful were the places where the wealthy were the only ones allowed in, where government buildings were, where police were actively keeping people from going around it. But the train system, it was filled with street grifters, immigrants, and people being loud and harassing. Now, of course, public transportation, I couldn't tell for a moment whether or not it was in Barcelona or in New York City.
I've been to New York, and it's
not great.
Dude, I did not like.
But the issue isn't just the public transportation. It's the issue of then you come out of the public transportation, and on almost all main streets that I was going on, it is a row of people, and there's trash all over the floor. And it makes me sad because this is an ancient, beautiful city with great history, and these people who actively live here can't enjoy their own beautiful city for two reasons: immigration and tourists. But that's a whole different issue that I'm not going to get into.
What we should draw from that is Europe's almost like the beta gameplay, showing what could happen to the United States if we let immigration be unfettered.
Yeah,
I think
it's a case
study.
The
greatest, case, that's way better. As the greatest nation in the world, I believe we're the greatest nation in the world. I think that we have the right to pick and choose who we want to come in. Now,
absolutely.
I think it should definitely be scrutinize the government for who they choose. If they're only grabbing white people, let's say, I'm not condoning racism, but I don't care what color you are, what ethnicity you are. The problem is when somebody's coming in who hates America for its culture, for its values, and what the very foundations of our republic, and want to dismantle and destroy it openly. I don't care if they're black, white, brown, they should not come in. But anybody coming in who wants to improve America and improve the country and stands for our values and our Constitution, come right in. I'm okay with it.
In the legal way.
But I feel like somebody who cares about our country and wants to improve it will do that.
Yeah, I agree. You have
Cubans coming in rafts who, once they get on our soil, go to a DMV office and try to get registration. It's a massive difference in the quality of immigrants we have.
Well, you have to be. I think this is important. You have to be ready to say, "I am an American." If you
better
aren't
be waving
ready,
the American flag.
If you aren't ready or prepared or willing to say, "I am a proud American. I love this country and I love its history," then you're not the kind of person we want here. You cannot mooch off of the success of great people, right, and not be willing to keep fighting to preserve the greatness, what makes it great. And then of course that's why I don't really particularly like the Democratic Party, because they don't accept how great this country is. They don't accept their great history, and I don't think they're trying to keep it and preserve it great. But I think that, again, tangents there. But I don't know. I think this is great.
It kind of actually fits into what I wanted to talk about next, which is there's a lot of protests, and some of these I kind of think of them as riots. There's a lot of protests and riots against
protests.
Of course, yeah,
especially peaceful. These shooting.
Peaceful protesters.
These peaceful fires. Peaceful.
Well, it is peaceful because ICE is only facing a 10 times increase in violence. That's only like 1,000%. It could be way higher than that. So we got to give them some props for that. But so I got this from ABC7 in Chicago. Protesters are stopping vehicles from entering and exiting ICE detention facilities. They're being called peaceful protesters, but I feel like interrupting law enforcement kind of breaks past a peaceful protest. That's not really what I would call it. And they also brought fireworks and were firing them at ICE officers. May have been retaliatory after they used paintball guns and other non-lethal weapons, but they still brought weapons with them to these allegedly peaceful protests.
You mean retaliating against the ICE agents who use non-lethal methods?
Yeah,
Right,
against
yeah. Okay, just
yeah.
making sure I heard that correctly, so I understood that they retaliated against the law enforcement agency that they're currently heckling and preventing from performing their duties.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
Right.
reasonable. If I get pulled over for speeding and I'm not producing papers, so the cop has me get out and tries to handcuff me, he's attacking me. I'm in my right
Right.
to be
So
allowed
now,
to take his car and blow it
yeah,
up, right?
yeah, right.
I think.
I get pulled over, and it seems annoying, so I'm going to just reverse my car into his bumper. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, don't even just drive off. Make sure you cause damage before you
Yeah,
do.
I mean,
that's
yeah.
the peaceful way to do it, right?
Yeah, a peaceful bump is what we call it in the
And
Democrat sphere.
The media, they'll tell you this is peaceful. They'll tell you that these are just actions to take. But the issue is that once you encourage smaller levels of violence like this, you could say, "Oh, well, nobody died. So what's the issue?" As this gets tolerated, it only gets worse, and we saw that. We saw that today with this guy Joshua John, mid 30 male. He fired rounds at an ICE detention center in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it's an unfortunate event. What's ironic about it is he was intending to kill ICE agent, and unfortunately there was one detainee killed and 2 wounded. However, no ICE officers, at least from the data we have, wounded or killed. Just
Right.
Joshua and the one detainee. He killed himself with his rifle.
Yeah. The shooter was also 29 specifically.
29.
Age,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Which is crazy, and we'll get into this, I think, later in this episode. The amount of 20-year-olds who are doing shootings and stuff.
Yeah, it seems like a very specific demographic.
Yeah.
Just mid-20s, like very young males.
Yeah.
Seem to be the ones getting radicalized.
Heavily. So I definitely want to get into that then, but yeah.
If you hear the media trying to talk about how they don't know the motive of the shooter, because I saw that on ABC. We actually use the DHS.gov as our source because I couldn't get good information from mainstream media. There were anti-ICE messages inscribed on the rounds that he fired. So don't be fooled if they try and twist this again like they attempted to do with Charlie Kirk's assassin. This was definitely a left radicalized man who did this.
This is, again, it's getting kind of crazy because I feel like we're going crazy, right? Like this feels like there are rats in this room kind of deal, where this is just a loop, and it's a loop. Shooting happens. They have inscriptions. It clearly shows that there are some kind of radicalized left. And then the radical left goes, "Oh, maybe he was conservative, actually, guys. Maybe he was actually maybe MAGA. Was he MAGA Republican? Definitely MAGA, right, guys?"
Right. Well, that makes sense.
It's like, how many? Like, I don't get, and I do get it. It's gaslighting. It's total gaslighting. The idea is that they want to keep holding on to the power of the narrative, and unfortunately, what they don't realize, especially in the wake of Kirk's death, is that they don't hold that narrative anymore, right? It's not theirs to control, because I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that, hey, you know what? It's so weird you guys keep saying this guy's a Republican, because it clearly says on his bullets, fuck ICE. Now, hold on. Now, what MAGA Republican is like upset over ICE right now?
Maybe when they got moved to Antarctica. Never thought of that.
Maybe. But
they should have aimed lower. They went straight for MAGA, They should have just said that it was the Jews, and I think there would have been a lot of Republicans who could have swung with that idea.
Maybe a lot of crazy righties talking about the Jews being everything.
It's all Israel because
it's always Israel. You're right. I don't even know why we're talking about the shooting.
They're rooted deeply in
my bad.
ICE and American immigration policy.
Right. Israel did this. ICE starts with an I. Israel starts with an I. The Jews didn't. Is usually the answer here. No.
I couldn't have even thought about that. I mean, if we all start on the basic fact that the Earth is flat.
There you go. Yeah, so we can get into a lot of conspiracy theories, crazy ones. But at the end of the day, I do think this is the conclusion in my head with kind of shootings like these, and the more we see them, and it's the fact that at the end of the day, the people who are doing shootings are not Republicans. I'm not saying they don't do any shootings. I'm not saying that we're
not exclusively, but just look at the data and look at the
But if you're looking at the recent, most popular ones you want to present to us, it's these radical lefts. It's radicalized. And you know what radicalizes people? When you keep telling people that these are Nazis, that these guys are the Gestapo, that these guys are the next commies, even though they like communism, right? But they're like these are Stalin's secret police. These guys are fascist and they're evil. They're a threat to you. They're a threat to your life. They're a threat to your democracy, which you don't care about, by the way. But you will when it's a threat to it, by the way, right? Now, if you keep saying these words, what kind of call to action does that have? And more importantly, when you have such a call to action, who is going to get called? Probably the mentally ill losers in this country who have nothing going for them. And look at these people. I mean, look at the images of some of these shooters. They're losers. They are massive losers. They have nothing going for them, right? I don't really care about their sexuality, but it is genuinely that these are people who are not doing well in life. This society, I think, failed them partially. And I say that because the fact that they could be so heavily influenced into these radical ideologies to a point where they think themselves heroes, or could potentially think themselves heroes. We don't know because some of these manifestos keep getting destroyed magically. But
weird.
But
the mystical paper shredder.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Oh God, burn that.
Hey Pam, where's that manifesto? Oh, sorry, my dog ate it.
No, you should have. Oh, it's on my desk right now. We're looking at it.
Oh, I got the files right here.
Guys, what manifesto? What are we? Guys, you're still on that?
Talking about the ones in the burn bags?
Guys, we released it. It's just fully redacted.
Speaking of losers.
Well, that's Antifa. Who it is. That's man, we're talking massive losers. But I'll let you go off on this because you read a little bit, I think, more than me. This came out, I think, while I was working, so maybe you know a little bit more than this. But I'll let
you Antifa.
Yeah. I don't know much about Antifa. I know they're crazy lunatics who I guess now don't exist. Which I actually did see a clip about this,
allegedly.
And I saw a clip on this. I think it's a CNN loser. And I want to play it right. Hold on. We'll play it right now. Wow, what a great clip. Go ahead, Cody. Take it away.
Yeah. So Antifa is technically, I guess it's short form for anti-fascist, which is weird because I feel like we can just call ourselves whatever we want and then call the opponent bad because they don't support it. So we are fascists because we don't like Antifa, anti-fascist. But I got a quote here from whitehouse.gov from President Trump himself. So let me read this out. Let me let him read this out. Antifa is a militarist, anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government. It is a great government. It uses illegal means to organize and execute a campaign of violence and terrorism nationwide to accomplish these goals. And so, because of the aforementioned pattern of... Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you, President Trump.
For tuning into the pod for that.
So, because of the pattern of political violence designed to suppress lawful political activity and obstruct the rule of law, I hereby designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for tuning
So,
in, Kirk. God, what a great
yeah,
guest to have. I love that guy.
we have good connections. Yeah, I should have
Yeah,
introduced him a little bit better, but that's okay.
that's
Maybe we'll
okay.
get him on next time.
He's a busy,
But
busy guy. Busy guy.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Actually, I had him for dinner today. Uh, anyways, this is big news, I think, because I don't think this is necessarily going to mean we're going to have troops on the streets rounding up Antifa members, because Antifa isn't a super tight-knit organization. That's kind of how they were able to get away with not being considered a domestic terrorist organization for so long, because they're not very centralized. But they are centralized to a sense where they organize. They just do it discreetly. Because anytime there's a big event going on, any big right wing event, there's Antifa there. Anytime things get violent, there's typically the Antifa's involved. So now with this ruling, social media companies are going to have a big decision to make, and that is, do they take down Antifa posts and people openly supporting Antifa and their flag because they are a domestic terror organization, or are they going to defy President Trump's command and keep them up? Because we saw they definitely did not disobey the president when it came to stuff censorship involving COVID-19, for example. So I'm very. This is gonna really shine light on which way our social media platforms lean, and I think that's gonna maybe not shed light to the public, because I feel like a lot of people aren't really, but at least to our government, they'll kind of know what levers they have to pull in regards to social media.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading something quick.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, because I was just trying to read more into the Antifa stuff. Um,
This
yeah,
could help.
I don't
You wanna
think
go?
this. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how much this is gonna actually prevent a crackdown on Antifa membership. Because the problem is it's not really like it's the only reason I think it'd be difficult is because of the fact that it's like not every Muslim's a jihadist, right? So it's hard to.
Yeah.
So just because a Muslim says jokingly that he's part of the jihad or whatever their short form is, doesn't mean he's all of a sudden a jihadist. Same with anybody who's like someone could jokingly
They're
put on their yeah they can jokingly say post on Instagram that they're pro Antifa, but then I don't think they should be arrested for that, nor do I think they should be banned or whatever. So
No,
I'd be interested to
you're
see
right.
what this actually manifests into, only because I don't quite know. I don't know, because the Trump administration has been shocking us lately. Genuinely, this could be a case where they're like, and if an Antifa protest happens, law enforcement or even military is shutting it down. Like I don't know.
He has demonstrated that he has balls, and he
Yeah.
will. I feel like if he thinks it's right, he will do something about it.
Not to say that that means it is right, and I don't want him to really do that. I don't actually really think domestic terrorism is something. This is getting into a touchy subject, but I think I'd be more careful on how I label domestic terrorism. I really would, only because you're talking about American citizens typically when you're talking domestic terrorists, and so it's very difficult for me to be like, yeah, that whole group is terrorists. It's I don't know. It depends on what they start doing.
Tough,
If Antifa
but
starts blowing up buildings, then yeah, I want them all rounded up and locked up. But if they continue to just do their obnoxious protests, it's obnoxious. But most Antifa protests I've seen, they get out of hand. But I've never seen them get as bad as BLM protests got. But again,
BLM
maybe I
was
haven't.
very fueled by Antifa, though. That is.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
They're very good at
Wow.
inciting. They'll go to peaceful protests
Oh, so they're
intentionally
like
to incite them,
antagonizers.
to make them violent. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Antifa isn't just in the United States; it's an international organization. It's just very loosely bound.
Oh, so like the Stop Oil people.
Yeah, except
Okay.
these guys, they won't fly their flag and start a riot all on their own. They tend to go towards peaceful protests
Interesting.
and once nightfall comes, kind of incite them and make them violent. That's more their memo because they like being more anonymous and not
Wow.
leading scrutiny directly to themselves.
Interesting. Sounds kind of like what the devil would do, but that's getting into spirituality. But
Yeah, it's important, I think, because even if because domestic terrorist organizations just now they are now that they are legally recognized as this, more actions can be taken against them, and especially with this crazy radicalization going, we can't necessarily stop the speech and stop the rhetoric, at least not easily or simply, because we do have protection of the First Amendment. I think there's certain things that maybe shouldn't be excused, but that's besides the point. I think it's incredibly important that we start taking out some of these inciters and people trying to rile up and actually commit these acts of violence. I think that's just as important as trying to stop the rhetoric.
so the question is, obviously Antifa is a thing, but I'm curious how you view them because from what you're kind of detailing for me and from what I've kind of been able to glimpse, is it an official organized kind of centralized organization or is this more of a scattered group? Because I think that matters only because for example, I gave a jihadist. That's an organized group
Yeah.
of terrorists, typically, or a form of terrorists.
Yeah,
right?
this is not like ISIS or Al Qaeda.
Right. This isn't ISIS where they have their flags and they're texting each other, "Hey, we're gonna blow up that building."
They are scattered and they're very loosely bound, but from the way that they organize when they do, you could tell that there is organization and there is top-down instruction involved. Um, the issue is that they have a flag and they fly a flag. So it's when you have a flag to connect, when you have a flag, same set of ideals and same way to perpetrate their message through the same very similar acts of violence and ways to incite people, done internationally, but in the U.S. is what we're focusing on.
Well,
All of that combined, it's very easy to recognize them as an organized, like
yeah.
as an organization.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how comfortable I'm always or I am with the government labeling any domestic organization as a domestic terrorist. I think you're right. It gives the agencies a little bit more ability to investigate, which I think is the primary reason for the labeling.
I
This
bet that's
isn't
what we'll see more of.
yeah,
Just
this
investigation.
isn't really like a legal. This isn't a legitimate legal thing. Like there's really no, from what I understand, there's really no way for the government to currently officially designate any organization in America as a terrorist organization. So I'm pretty sure domestic terrorism or domestic terrorists are more just a label within the agencies.
Yeah, just a
Right.
very powerful label.
It is a very powerful label, but I do believe it allows them to investigate better, and that's probably mostly
Yeah.
what we'll see is maybe not more information coming out about these groups and more prevention. So maybe not as much crackdown on, but prevention of them from ever occurring.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because I guess if
I'm
you're
along.
yeah.
Sorry.
So no, I was gonna say if you're talking scattered, I guess this kind of makes sense actually as a label, only because then you're really just talking about not an organized group, but you're talking about the ideology and the motivations behind the crimes or the antagonization that you brought up that they're doing. So I guess it makes sense now, kind of understanding more of what they do and how they operate. That maybe this label kind of makes sense, but again, I'm always half loosely okay with any group being labeled officially a domestic terrorist because, you know, it's a bad genie, that the government should be able to call Americans terrorists.
But I've got two more reasons I think that thing is. I personally on the side this is a good thing. First of all, because they tried to present themselves as not an organized, it'd be tough for them to sue in this regard because then they're gonna kind of have to say that they're organized in order to sue against the government for designating them as this and investigating them maybe. But more importantly, I've listened to Steven Crowder for a long time, and he's actually gone to Antifa protests. They infiltrated it pretending to be Antifa members and to get an insight on how they operate. And they found an absurd level of organization. Like they had meetings, they talked cite violence and current protests, what time they were going to do it, their strategies, and with how organized it was and with the intention being like the quote militarist anarchist, they called for the overthrow of the United States government, and I think that's incredibly harmful. There's more than enough evidence to call these people terrorists and have something done about them.
I concur.
We've been talking a lot about kind of stressful things, very political, what is it, immigration riots, shootings. I think we should take a moment to talk about something a little more heartfelt, somber, but very uplifting, I believe. And that happened Sunday. It was the Charlie Kirk memorial. There were hundreds of thousands of people that traveled to Arizona to attend this memorial. And initially, I thought this was going to be a somber event, but it was incredibly uplifting.
Yeah.
I didn't go there. I listened to it on Turning Point USA. It inspired me. It was incredible. Listening to the music, listening to all of the speakers talk about faith in such a strong way, and I got to learn a lot more about Charlie than I did before.
Yeah.
You have some favorite speeches, right?
I do. I think my top two were probably I'd say the number one. I think of the peak of the event was Erica Kirk. I think hers is a case study on absolute pure strength,
Oh yeah.
emotional fortitude, and faith. I think there is not a single person currently in this world that I think holds more faith in God and Christ than Erica. I think it genuinely, as someone who does not cry very often, I'm not much of a teardropper, right? I like to preserve the water in my body. As a man who does not hydrate very well, I need
Survival.
cried. It cried. It was super hard to listen to in the right reason, for all the right reasons, right? To watch someone fight against their own human emotions to push forward the power and their pure faith in Christ. I think it was such a beautiful display of so many different emotions. And so top speech of the day, Erica. Yeah.
I'd like
so I'll
to
let you comment on that.
Yeah, I want to add to that because I saw on X, so there were some posts of people asking why it felt so scripted, and it really got me thinking. And I feel like that's a pretty mean thing to say, especially considering what happened to her. But I, of course it was scripted. Of course it was written out, because if she went up there just professed her true feelings right now, it would probably be just immense sadness, grief, and despair.
Well, I don't know if it's like that, but I'll let you go ahead.
But she got up on that stage and she inspired all of America and was able to hold those harsher feelings back and truly inspire everybody.
Yeah.
And lead with such a quick turnaround. She had to save time for grief because she had an entire organization to lead, and many Americans to inspire and be their leader. So I just gotta attest to how incredible and how strong she is for being able to do that. I don't think I would be able.
I think there is only a few people in the world in any given moment in history who can. I think there's only been a few women in American history who can say they've been where Erica has been, right? And in such a weird, it's hard to pinpoint where that position is, because it's an awful position, having to be a now widow to 2 children, And I think the hardest thing too about that is being a mom, being a widow, and now having to honor and take a lead in the movement that your husband built, right? Keeping his legacy going, honoring him. And so I think that adds a level of difficulty to her current situation. And to see, again, I think that speech showed all of that on display. There's a lot of
Yeah.
weight on her shoulder. There's a lot of pressure on her shoulder. And the fact that she's stepping into things so quickly and so well, obviously we don't know what the background looks like. I'm sure she is grieving like any human would, but to be
Yeah.
able to be such a public figure in a period where realistically, if you were anyone else, if that was me right now, 2 weeks later after my spouse is dead, I am not going to work, right? Like I'm not. I wouldn't be
No.
at work.
No.
And so I have no doubt. I don't currently have a daughter. I only have a son, but it's like if I had a daughter, that is the type of woman I want my kid to look up to. That is the kind of woman I want my daughters to look up to. Besides, obviously, like their mom. Obviously their mom is amazing. But those are the kind of women in leadership roles that, Erica should be looked up to by women around America and around the world. And I think she is. I think she showed that you can still be a mother, a wife, and a Christian and still be a leader as a woman. And I think that's cool. I think that was very powerful. I think that was very
You
powerful.
you could feel the power of her faith.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
knew that there was a plan and that she needed to keep her head up and lead.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
truly hope that leading Charlie's message and being a mother to their children, it will be as fulfilling for her as possible.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was the peak of the event. I think going into less, again, that's more somber stuff. I think the
Right.
second best speech was 100% Don Jr. Donald Jr.'s speech was phenomenal
I enjoyed that one.
because it gave us a little comedic relief. It was a serious event, a
Yeah.
lot of grand things being said, and nothing I disagreed with. I genuinely love the grand messaging that we're getting from all these speakers. And so having Don come in and give us a more comedic, more, not a call to action, not a massive call to action, not a super grand speech. It was very human. It was down to earth, and it was very touching and very
Inspiring.
yeah, very inspiring. I enjoyed everything about that. I enjoyed him calling Charlie his little brother. I thought that was adorable. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
So you can tell how much love Charlie had, and I genuinely thought Donald Jr.'s speech was amazing, especially his imitation of his father. I thought, despite
I love that.
despite growing up with Donald being his dad, what a terrible imitation of his dad.
Yeah, I was listening to that like, oh man, I could get me a
Don. Yeah, it wasn't great, but
we gotta
it's the part that
meet
counts.
up with him and combine our skills because he knows what he says and says it. We're better with the voice, so we need to combine.
I'm so glad
and
you're
then we
putting
could
we
truly-
into this.
Yeah, both of us.
I'm not good at that voice at all. I
There's one
cannot.
way to get better, and it's practice.
Yeah, I don't think that's something I want to practice to get better at. But
Well,
I want to
if you
hear
wanna
from
dally
you.
with unimportant things.
I want to hear from you quickly because we're gonna wrap this episode. I want to hear from you,
Yeah.
from your key takeaways from the memorial to end this video off or this episode off.
Well, I gotta say I loved the music.
Oh yeah,
That was
great music.
that was probably some of the most like
Yeah.
nothing really tugs on my heartstrings too hard, but that just listening to that, knowing the event,
Man.
it was
Yeah.
it was incredible. They did an amazing job, and it just all the prayer that was going on, the constantly professing to the Lord. It was. I'm not a very good Christian, I guess, but it was incredible to listen to that, and I felt very strongly pulled towards the Lord.
Yeah. I think everyone did. I think everyone did.
That's all else I have to really say. There were a lot
Yeah.
of people that I listened to afterwards who talked about it, and they had some really good points. Um, but
Yeah. I
it is
think.
incredible. I'm very happy
Yeah.
that it happened.
Hmm.
I'm very thankful that, because I heard there may have been protests attempting to form around it. I'm very happy none of that really fell through, and that it could just be a great uniting moment
It was.
for everybody who loved Charlie and everybody who loves America.
I agree, and I think what it reflect a lot is the key phrase that we're hearing right now, and it's going to become a bigger movement, which is that this is a turning point. And I think you
Yeah.
saw that in living moment. That was a live moment of seeing this turning point, and a turning point towards Christ, a turning point for righteousness, a turning point to principle, to
Hmm.
I think the key thing there and what I think we took away from was faith in the Lord. And so I think the messaging is probably one of the most important things we saw from that memorial. And I'm excited to see where this turning point goes. But do you have any concluding thoughts before we conclude this episode?
Um, I don't think so. I think that was a nice way to end it off and end it on a somber but high note,
Yes, sir.
a little less stressful than all the politics.
Well,
I'm very happy. I guess I'm hopeful. I feel good about the direction our country's going, and I think the right was starting to fragment a little bit with everything going on, but I feel like that memorial and the time following after it has been a we've been very united under a common goal, and I think a lot of people are turning towards Christ and
yeah,
becoming happier. That's the most important thing, I believe, for our country.
I agree. And so as we conclude this episode, I just want to say to the audience here and in the future audience, make sure to follow us on whatever you're listening to. Right? Make sure you click on all the other links either in the description or on the profile so that you can follow us on everything. Because while there's the podcast, ideally there will be more to come. So make sure you follow
Yeah,
us on
when
all things.
that website's up, we'll have we'd like you to contact us and let us know what you think.
Yep.
Any
Yep.
questions, any comments, please let us know, because we want to serve you the best we can.
Yes, sir. So make sure to follow. Make sure to comment, subscribe, share, all the things. Put us in your daily rotation. We're still learning. We're still getting a schedule going, but hopefully we'll get one down so we can be a part of your daily day. All right.
Hell yeah.
We'll end it off there. Thank you for coming to the Liberty Today show. See ya.
Goodbye.